recording this. So yeah, I have no idea if we're live or not, but so as always, let's hear about your week. Jackie, what were you up to this week?
So this week I did my last of my ICU rotation. I've got 2 more weeks of medical school. That was my big success. The other thing I did this week was I did the virtual Joe Martin stage race on RGT. So this was actually my second time doing the virtual Joe Martin stage race. Last time it was on Zwift, and it was actually my very, very first professional race. So kind of fun to come back and do it a second time, race against racers like Christy Tracy, who I've gotten to race before. Uh, it was absolutely brutal. So we started off with a 10-minute time trial. We went strong into Saturday with a 45-minute, mostly uphill race. And then today was a 30-mile crit race with a with a hill 25 times. So very, very brutal. Very, very glad to be done and get to rest tomorrow.
Sounds yeah, sounds like fun, I guess.
I mean, all the fun is at the end, right? I race and I've got my chocolate sitting there in front of me, and I'm like, that is what we race for. That is the goal.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what we were talking about before.
are we burying the lead? Did you win again, Jackie?
So I did win the first day. I won the time trial.
Yeah, I knew it.
I set a new personal best, 400 watts for 10 minutes. Very, very proud of that. Second day, I did not win. Krista Doble Hickok put up a fantastic race up the final climb. She's just a mountain goat climber, very light, but still very powerful. Just put out a masterful race, got her first title of the series. And then today, I won against another Team USA member, Laura Matson Co., in a final sprint. So very, very fun, very, very competitive, tough race all around.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I feel like we say that to you every single week, though.
Yeah.
So Jordan, how about you? How was your week? What'd you do?
Well, so I did not win any races. And I think I still have, let me count, 8 years left in medical school. So, about that, I'm making my way there. But no, I had a good week. It's been awesome weather here in Tucson. So I did a 200K ride on Friday, which was sweet.
Oh, wow.
It's just it's the perfect sort of like springtime weather, and I know I'm peeing you guys off with that, but it's been awesome. So I've been enjoying that, and taking the week off of Premier League sort of allowed me to have a full week of training without smashing myself to bits on the Monday. So yeah, good times, and we'll just try to click in now. I'll be racing tomorrow in the team time trial for Premier League, and we'll try to get the last three races here. Or is it four? Anyway, we'll smash them. So I'm ready now.
Yeah, this is week 5, and then for the community league, there's a playoff. Is there a playoff for you guys, Jordan and Jackie?
No, there isn't, but I feel like there should be, and I feel like that's like the most exciting part, and I don't know why we're not doing it. Like, I don't know. That'd be awesome, right? Like you'd qualify for the playoffs and have like a knockout race. It'd be great. But
Yeah.
Well, we can submit ideas for season 3. It looks like they're starting to put out ideas for that. So
yeah, well,
big Super Bowl playoff style, top 2 teams, elimination.
Eric Min has commented on one of my articles before on Zwift Insider. So
Oh, I didn't know you were so big time.
yeah, we're acquaintances. So I could put in a word.
I commented on his Twitter one time, begging for attention, and he didn't respond though. So
Well, you're
yeah.
not in the inner circle like me, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so for me, even though I'm probably a little lower on the totem pole, I did get better results than Jordan since he didn't race, so that's good. I raced I can't say it anymore. I was given an incredibly hard time for how I was saying the course name this last week in Yorkshire. I know it's Yorkshire, but the other word, the H word, there were multiple that I was if you go look through the YouTube comments, I was pretty well skewered, so I'm not going to say it anymore. But
Okay.
what I'll say is not only did the viewers skewer me on how I was saying it, then I raced the course, and that also was about the same. So, I mean, we raced this in season one, and we only had 2 laps. Premier League had 3, but it was so hard. I mean, last time
Right.
I went up the KOM, and I got dropped on the KOM, but like the pack went up in about 225, 230. I'm at Cat B. This time I went up in 221, and like I was barely hanging on the pack. I mean, it was just flying. And then, I mean, people were like 214, like a pretty big pack of people. And I ended up getting dropped on the second KOM. So yeah, it was ended up, well, 15th or something. I mean, it was just an incredibly hard race, and I haven't been feeling well lately, so I only rode 3 times this week. I really, um, yeah, it was. I took some time off. I needed some downtime. I was actually going to ask you guys later on when we talk about recovery, like what do you do about burnout? Um, and
Sounds like you need a coach, Rick. Peakformcoaching.com. Just get that in.
yeah,
It's,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
there's other stuff you could do, but that's probably
But
way
that's
to move.
that's probably what I really need to do is throw money at it. You
Yeah.
think? So yeah, it was a tough one, and yeah, the viewers are saying we're not live, so that stinks. But I'll post the recording. So yeah, so it was a tough week, and let's transition a little bit over to the Premier League results. I mean, obviously we Jordan didn't race this week, but you have teammates in it, and so does Jackie. So Jackie and Jordan, why don't you take us through the women's race first and what you saw and some of the results?
Yeah, so the women's racing has had an real obvious trend to it, even on York or Innsbruck with the big climb at the end. It's been blowing up early and leaving a group of 20, 30 women like after 10 minutes of racing. The first obstacle, it blows up and everybody just throws down, which is awesome to see. And that happened on the KOM, which was about 10 minutes in. And it sort of left 20 up front, and which was interesting though, because the points go 30 or 30 deep. So you have a race in front that you're watching on the broadcast, but behind people are still competing. So there's that. I mean, it was a dominating display for team by Hino again. They had like 4 in the top 10 or something like that. I think we had a new winner though, Beth McIver from Cryo RDT. That was cool to see because it looked like Catherine Curry might just win again. She's been on such a tear, but at the last second, the power up placement was just right for MacGyver there, and she took it. And the broadcasters were actually like surprised and excited, which is great. We need new winners and stuff, and so very exciting race, very dynamic on the women's side there.
I actually want to just put out there, I'm really excited to see these power ups becoming almost spoilers in the race, just because I think that's going to help develop virtual cycling as a standalone discipline and not just a stand in discipline while we're having difficulty attending real life races. It's very fun to see in these races being like, oh, there is this other element we can bring to just make it fun. Not quite the
Yeah.
Mario Kart Blue shell, but
Right.
we're getting there.
Yeah. Well, they have it in Formula One. You can press a button and you get the draft reduction so you can actually make a pass. And this is the same kind of deal. It makes it dynamic. And yeah. And then on the men's side, we actually saw something very similar. And I do not know how to pronounce this guy's name, but I'll try. Havard Jeldness of Calais. It looked on camera like Freddie Ovett won this race, and he was just lighting the whole thing up. Like he won every KOM, he won all the sprints almost, and he looked like he had a clear shot to the line. But I think Havard hit it late with a power up and off camera actually took it, and there was confusion, which is not good. That Zwift needs to work on that. But another surprise, it came down to the last 50 meters in both of these things, so that's good racing, good sprint finish. And I got to give a shout out to my teammate Joel Carroll, who actually made our first top 10 from the Finesse Rockets. He hung in there This race was crazy hard. Like the average watt per kilogram for these guys was like 5 plus, normalized 5.5 for a lot for almost an hour. And Joel's not that type of endurance guy, but he hung in there every tip and trick, no breakaways hashtag he used, and he got eighth in the end. So that's awesome.
Yeah, he's well, I mean, he was a guest on the show. He gave us some of those tips and tricks. So yeah, he's
He was using them.
yeah, well, I see. I mean, I'm looking at his power and he's 4.5.
Yeah.
Let's see. The winner was 4.6, so also good, but I don't know where the next person is. There, 38th, Hayden Warner from Turbo, 4.4.
Yeah. And
So
you look at Ovet, who came seventh. The guy normalized 380 watts, and he's 63 kilograms. So that's a normalized power of 5.9 for an hour. Yeah,
Wow.
and normalized matters on a course like that because you do get the rests, right? But anyway,
yeah,
high racing, and the 3 laps was awesome. I think 4 laps would have been more awesome because I just really no, I enjoyed it because you could. There's a little tension, closing of gaps, and it wasn't gone forever because guys uh, didn't want to overexert themselves. And same with the women's race. People came back after that first selection because nobody really wanted to dig in for another 45 minutes straight. So that was good stuff.
yeah, super cool race. I mean, it was really fun to watch. I was there were a lot of interesting things happening. I didn't get to watch the women's race. I had a meeting again for it. Plus, it was a little bit later in the day. Like,
Mhm,
wasn't it
mhm.
like 2 hours later than it normally was? Something
I
like
think the
that.
men started at 1 and the women started at 2
But yeah,
MST.
yeah,
Yeah, it was it's weird. I don't know why they don't stick with a schedule. Like even for me, I don't even know when we're racing half the time. So just put it on the list of complaints.
yeah. Well, like you said, you know Eric Min, so
I do.
just just
I
text
think
him.
I have him in my phone somewhere. So
Yeah, just text him. I mean, he seems like he
yeah,
should respond.
dear Eric.
um, yeah. So I mean, pretty cool. I mean, a lot of the normal names up there. For both men and women. Shout out to Catherine Curry, who was in the 6x6 match race yesterday on no breakaways. So, I mean, there's only really one step up from the Premier League, and that's the no breakaways match races. So, she's
Yeah,
really it's kind of like
I
the
watched
peak.
that. That was pretty good racing.
Yeah, it's a cool format for sure. Um, yeah, so yeah, pretty fun week, and kind of going along in that theme of the week. Let's hop into Jackie's race of the week. Give us a little intro, and then we'll start it off.
Yeah, so I got to watch the Fierce Feline series, and we're going to be watching Hilda Wrong. So this was 3 laps of the Cobbled Climbs Reverse, which we saw a couple weeks ago, actually, on the Zwift Racing League. And this is a rough course. So very, very similar to what we saw this week, just a longer course, lots of hills. And with the Cobbled Climbs Reverse, you know, we talk a lot about hitting those 2 Richmond hills back to back, but you really need to think about this course as 3 hills with a very short flat part between. So, what we're going to see today with our highlighted rider, Hilda Wrong, is just how well she plans her attacks on the hills, as well as how she plans her breaks when she goes down that hill. So, if we want to go ahead and cue up the video here.
So I do, but
Yeah.
before I do, Jackie, I know you're really good at making puns. You've demonstrated this. Talk about the
Uh oh.
hills and Hilda. Like I thought, I was waiting for it. So
Yeah, but I mean, her last name is wrong, but she did a lot of things right, and that's what we're going to
yes,
I
see
was
here.
just about to
yes,
say
that was
that.
excellent. Oh, I feel like maybe you
God.
even set me up for that by not doing the pun. That was really top shelf.
I was going to hold it back. I was going to hold it back.
We better get to the clip before I embarrass myself more. Jackie, you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay. Can you see the video?
I can see the video.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the second time up the hill. Yep. And we are just clocking. And so we're actually going to see Hilda Wrong lose her teammate Arnold here on the first hill. And you'll notice that the gradient is very, very steep at this point. Um, starting to hit that 6, 7, and it's actually going to get even steeper before we get to the top of this first hill. We see the riders putting down excellent powers, hitting those 300 watts, getting into the 400 watts even. And we start to see a breakaway form. And this is really, really key when you're looking at getting over a steep hill that then has a downhill, because if you can make that
This is
breakaway
the
onto
top
a
B, putting the herd
downhill
on the field,
and
I
force
guess.
the riders to chase you and force them to not get that rest, they're not going to be able to catch up to you on that second hill or even on that third hill, which this course really just puts you into. So here we see Wrong just cruising down the downhill, taking her rest, mentally preparing for that next very, very steep uphill, which this course is just brutal. Yeah, so again, just seeing these fantastic, swings in power where we're going from resting, with watts in the 100s to just absolutely hammering it with 400 watts. And what I really want to show here is that, now we're going downhill, and we see Arnold is in this break, and she's actually having to put in significant work to get back to the pack. She's not getting that rest. She's not getting that benefit that the riders ahead of her are getting, and that makes this course even harder. Yep. So now we can see Wrong's teammate Arnold just trying to close that gap, trying to help everybody get back together such that they can take advantage of that downhill and rest before they hit that third hill of this course, which is just a brutal, brutal course.
And so I had a question here, Jackie. You see Arnold kind of dropping off the back.
Yeah.
What do you do in a position like this where you aren't sure you can catch that pack? Are you going to hammer and try to catch on knowing you have another lap?
I mean, it really depends what you as a racer think you're capable of. So, um, you know, if you have that hour-long power and you're very comfortable with your endurance, with your FTP, you might very well make the decision to try and close the gap on a flat, knowing that the front riders might be conserving their energy to go up the hill again, and that you might be able to catch them without sacrificing too much of your own endurance. At the same time, if you're with another group where you can trade the draft, where you can rest a little bit, you might want to save yourself and say, okay, I'm not going to be able to sprint for first, second, or third, but if I stay back here with fifth to sixth and seventh, I can still sprint for that finish. So it's very much dependent on where your strengths are as a rider, and also what's going on with the field, whether you are solo or whether you have a chase group to work with.
Yeah, because I mean, right here, I mean, you see Arnold really. I mean, she's super tucking, but she's also hitting 350 watts trying to get back to that
Yeah.
group. You
Yeah,
know,
and that's just brutal on this course. Like I said, like we talk about this being a double hill, but it's really not. It's really um three hills with a very short flat in between. And so when she takes that flat, and even the downhill, as hard as she is, like she's essentially getting no rest and just going into back-to-back sprint.
yeah, this is a pretty impressive effort from her. So yeah, let's take a look at Hilda. Here we go. Let's
Yeah. And
yeah.
so,
Go ahead.
yeah. So what we saw from Hilda today was not only these very impressive, 30-second minute hill climbs, but at the end, and we actually didn't show this, she had a very, very impressive finishing sprint where she was pushing 600 watts. So I think this race really highlighted her strength by giving her the chance to punch over and over again and then rest so that she didn't have to rely necessarily on having this big endurance engine. She could just put out minute efforts, 30-second efforts, get a gap, and then rest and prepare for her next sprint. So, she did a fantastic job. Kudos to her for a very smartly done race.
Yeah, she really. I mean, watching the race too. I mean, it was like a clinic. But she won overall the race, and
Yeah,
she's a B.
did. Yeah.
She uh, she was consistently, and I mean, it wasn't like she was a B who put out 4.8. I think she put 3.6 out yesterday. Was that right,
Yeah,
Jackie?
yeah. Uh, I recall 3.8, but yeah, it was definitely like mid to high threes, like very consistently a B, very well done. I mean, she was just extremely smart about where she put her watts, and I think that put her in a great position to take advantage of the course and take advantage of those breaks, and then put in that final sprint where she was ready. You know,
Yeah.
she did not work harder than she had to, and that's so important in these.
Yeah, it was super cool to see. I mean, that's I know as a B, that's one of the things I always work on is like not like if you're going to try to hang with the A's, you cannot do anything dumb. Like I mean, you can't push too hard because otherwise you just get spit out the back in a critical part, you know, and it seemed like she really did that for sure.
Yeah.
All right, and Jordan, you want to give us a lead into yours?
Yeah, I haven't been seeing the video there at the bottom, but I can probably get through it anyway. Yeah, it's I picked the veganuary. I guess it's not vegan, vegan tofu tornado race again. I like these races. They pick a different course each week. They had a mass start TT last week. This week was Watopia figure eight, I think. So you got the hilly climb, the hilly reverse, and just 30K. And I like that course, even though it's an OG course. In the smaller fields, you always get a good mixture of climbers and sprinters because that forward KOM splits it up. And so we were in the Bs here and picked a new rider I hadn't seen much from before, Dan Foreman. Are we playing the video now?
Yeah, the video just started. You can't
Cool.
see the video?
No, I can't, but I can sort of. I'll just feel this one out.
So
So
they're going right now. They're going up the
yeah,
hill.
so we're going up the climb, and this was decisive. The field had split and split and split, and Dan had Foreman had keep making the front just barely, and then I think he recognized the moment on this that this was going to be the final selection on this forward KOM, and so he kind of got up towards the front, but he never really took the front. He just matched that front move and just did just enough to stay in the front six, and there was guys getting dropped off that kind of came back, but I think he wrote it pretty perfectly to sort of make sure he made the split and do the least amount of energy possible. And then so he makes the front group, but he's already thinking about the sprint and saving energy again. Next clip, the super tuck. Um, if you look at the guys around him, he super tucks like twice as long as them. And he's just sitting there and they're doing like 3 watts a kilogram for maybe that doesn't feel a lot to them, but he's doing zero. And so the heart rate's coming right down. And then he has to do a little bit of a burst to make sure he makes the blob at the bottom. But I tell a lot of athletes, like, it's okay to make that burst if you've rested twice as long as everybody else. Like, that zero time is so nice and so important. And so he saved that energy. He's not the best sprinter in this group. I think he knew that. He's sort of got this broad all arounder type power profile. So coming into the sprint again, he's just sitting back and he's waiting, waiting, waiting. These other guys start popping 6 watts a kilogram, seven. And I think he just waits for the strongest sprinter to go. And then he follows right up. And it doesn't show super well in the video, but he actually ended up coming second. And the guy who beat him did like another 4 watt per kilo in the sprint. And so he just was super smooth with this. And I don't think looking at the power profiles, he should have been on the podium for this sprint, but he saved more energy. He made sure he made the selection. And I like the race he rode overall because there was no doubt he was going to make these splits. He was always affirmative on them. And then when he thought he could save energy, he really did. And so he's got about 50 something races, solid B. Not too many podiums is one of his best ever results, and a good all around race from Dan Foreman in these hotly contested vegan tofu tornado Saturdays. So Dan Foreman, rider of the week.
Yeah, so a little bit off topic, but with your excellent points about the super tuck, now that the UCI in real life is going to go forward banning it, what do you guys think is going to happen on Zwift? Are we going to be able to keep that mechanic, or are they going to weaken it?
With the amount of coaching I've done with athletes trying to figure out the dark art of the super tuck on Zwift, they better not get rid of it. I'm gonna I'm gonna throw my computer out the window
I'm gonna
if all of that is wrong.
I'm gonna go from a high B to like a low B if they get rid of the super tuck. I have a whole video on it. That's
It's
like
super. It's a
the
great part of the game. I
yeah
like it.
the two things I'm good at: drafting and super tucking. And it being I if somebody else super tucks before me in a bunch, I know that I've failed in that hill. So
Yeah.
yeah,
You're doing
actually,
like Dan did there, just right into it and just as long as you can.
well,
And
and it's interesting. I mean, it's a good question, Jackie, and I wonder the same thing. Is like, I hope they don't follow the UCI rules because number one, like, I mean, I think we've talked. The more you try to make Zwift real, in my opinion, we're like you said, we're going off topic, but the more we try to make Zwift like the real life, the less people will like it because it's not real life. I mean, it's a video game. Like no one wants World of Warcraft to be like real life. Not to say you have to gamify it that much, but I hope they keep that fun stuff in it.
yeah, at the very least, you should be able to coast very effectively down the descents. Like, there's got to be some point where you can not pedal on Zwift for God's sakes, right?
Yeah,
Ridiculous otherwise. So,
yeah.
yeah,
And I mean, there's rumors that people have said they changed the sticky draft and things like that, and they changed the super tuck recently. Someone said I don't have any verification of that, other than the idea like it didn't seem to quite super tuck the same to me. But
right.
I feel like anytime they change those dynamics, like I mean, there was a rumor they changed the sticky draft for Worlds. I don't know if they did. You two would probably know better than me, but it's like anytime they change
People
that
always
though.
talk about that stuff. There's a group of people that always, after the races, say, like, I think they've changed this. I think this felt different. I have no feeling for that whatsoever. I'm just racing the race in front of me. I could give you zero insight.
So
Like, I just feel, I do what I need to do. I don't know. So,
yeah, that's because you guys aren't teetering on the edge all the time. You're just like,
right.
I'm just kidding about that. It's the same thing. Um, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Super interesting. What do you think they're going to do,
Uh,
Jaggy? You didn't weigh in. You think they're going to change it?
Oh, I hope not. I mean, I think they might change the graphics so that we're not, sitting on the top tube. But I think Zwift has been pretty conservative in terms of like making it look realistic, making it look safe. We're not going to suddenly see somebody like we never saw somebody planking on the seat. Like, so I
that's
think
right.
yeah, we might see some graphics updates, but I really hope they do keep that very arrow downhill. And I think Zwift has been very vehement in terms of its territory, in terms of staying away from the enforced braking around turns and on downhills that we see in other games. So I don't think Zwift will really say, we feel the need to slow you down on downhills because that's part of the fun and there's not really a safety issue involved. If anything, I think it'll just be making the avatars look different. At least I hope, because I love the downhill. That's the best part of the race.
So I have a question. So, I mean, you guys probably know more about this than me. Like outside, is super tucking really that much more of an aero advantage than if you just get way in your drops and
No, dude. Let me tell you, as the one of the lighter riders in the peloton, I actually and like morally I don't agree with this rule, but like for myself, I'm happy about it because if some guy who weighs 80 kilos in front of me on a descent and we're at terminal velocity, I can't pedal. If he super tucks, I better super tuck or I'm gone. Because that
really?
draft's cut in half. So, and then it becomes a weight thing because I can't pedal to make up for it,
The
right?
draft is cut in
So
half just by super tucking, just by like
the
can
guy in
you
front, the draft you're getting from, I just visualize it. I have like this whole upper body to draft off of. Suddenly that disappears, and my whole upper body is catching wind, and I don't have the kilos to make up for it. It's a real thing, and if you're like Tour California, like big bunch of pro tour riders, everybody will be super tucking on the descent because it's the terminal velocity, and you just can't not if the guys in front of you are. So
hmm.
um, It's a thing. I don't think it's that dangerous. I've never seen an accident from it in that level, but it is dangerous for the average cyclist on the road. I see that and I'm like, what the heck are you thinking? You're putting your teeth that much closer to the asphalt. Like, what are you thinking? If something breaks, your face is gone. So, yeah, there you go.
Huh. I did not expect that strong of a response, Jordan. I got to be honest.
That's what I'm here for. Hot takes, right?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Somebody's going to be commenting like it's not 50%, it's 48.
Yeah, no, yeah, I just know like whatever percentage it is. If the guy in front of me super tucks and we're in a single line, I got a super tuck, or else I'm gone.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Right. Well, I guess we answered that
that's
question.
all I have to say about
Yeah,
that.
I was like, full disclosure, I have never super tucked in a race as a triathlete. Like, if I get close enough to draft, that's a penalty. And I really look at it more as the, is this safe enough? We've made that TT style arrow position illegal for these races. You know, when we're doing, these maneuvers. So is it as much, putting your teeth that much closer to the asphalt as you said, or is it really sacrificing the maneuverability of having your hands ready to go on the handlebars?
Yeah, that
So
too.
I'll be interested to see how it pans out. My experience going down hills near other people is extremely limited because, like I said, in triathlon, if I'm that close, I'm doing it very wrong.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Well, yeah, Jordan, take us into the team interview.
All right, we had an awesome team interview this week. Team Fearless, the OG women's team on Zwift, and these women were awesome. This was just a pleasure. It's a shorter interview, but it's great. So yeah, take it away. Team of the week, Team Fearless.
Out whatever the first part, like this part where I'm talking. So and if you're like, oh yeah, yeah.
We got our whoops. Look at
Jordan?
Where's
Oh,
are you whooped?
Are you yeah.
I got
Only the professional athlete doesn't have one.
no one's no one's paid me to wear it, so I go.
There you go.
recovery.
Yeah.
Overrated. Yeah.
And the
Oh, yeah. Constantly overreaching.
the other thing is that if you want to, I'm sorry, I have to mute my notifications quick. If you want to, sorry, if you want to redo a question, if you're like, I really messed that up, that was terrible, no worries, just be like, I'm gonna redo that, and I can cut it out so it looks normal.
Okay. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So it looks normal. You're gonna help me look normal? Wow. I know.
That I'm not gonna make any jokes here. Let's just I'm gonna go into the background and mute myself, okay?
Okay, we're ready to go. Okay, welcome to Outside the Draft Team of the Week interview. Today we're joined by two lovely ladies from Team Fearless, Carrie and oh my god, I forgot your name. I'm so bad. Sorry, Cheryl. Yeah, okay, I will do that over. It's because Rick said it's because I've never screwed that up before. It's because he said we could do it twice. I'm like, yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, welcome to Outside the Draft, your weekly Zwift Racing Roundup, team interview of the week. We have Carrie and Cheryl from Team Fearless, one of the premier women's team on Zwift. And welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for coming on. Yeah, I'm very excited about this because I'd heard of Team Fearless from the start. As soon as I got on Zwift, it's you guys were here at the sort of at the beginning and pioneers in a way. So, can you give us some background on Team Fearless? How did it start? Where did the name come from? And I think you broke some ground as well as a team on Zwift.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Team Fearless, we've been around since 2016, actually. And we were the first women's racing team. When there wasn't anyone really focused on women, there were a couple of other teams that were more co-ed. And so at the conclusion of the Zwift Academy, like the first one, Amy Levang, our owner, said, hey, this is really fun. Anybody else? If I started a team, would anyone want to join me? And we all raised our hands. Like every single woman that was out there in Swiftland was like, yes, this is awesome. And so she did. She started it up. Our logo is actually Rosie the Riveter, is where she took that from. And so that arm bend is actually kind of give her some props on that. So it says fearless and it's got the arm bend of Rosie the Riveter. That's the like carrot, the less than for the fearless sign. So a little background there.
Very cool. And you're the very first women's team, 2016. That's about when I got on Zwift very early, and I remember that. You got some credit then, and you continue to. That's great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the team. Like, it's obviously a women's team. That's unique. But what else are sort of the defining values of Team Fearless? And if I joined up, what could I expect? I'm not going to join up because I'm a boss. What can I expect?
Yeah, so what's unique is we're the first all female, and so we also really our only requirement is that you are female and that you would race once a month and try do racing once a month, and that can be any race. And a lot of them do beginners race. We have a beginners race that's only like 7 miles, and so it's a great way for people to get into it. I would say we have 120 members currently, and we have a wide range of people from all over, and also wide range of ages and fitness levels. And so we're super supportive within the group, and then also just within the whole female racing community. We try to encourage our members to join into some of the other sponsored races, like Tour de Boudica that Revo did, and then the Kiss one coming up in Valentine's Day, or I think it's Valentine's Day weekend. There's a Kiss one coming up. We're doing the ZRL, WTRL races in the Fierce Feline. We've done those. So we try to definitely promote female racing and getting our females involved in that. And so I think I think there's a lot of female teams out there that are doing it now, but we were one of the first ones on the start doing that. And so we have a lot of events that are in Swift, like rides for females and then racing specifically for females. We just added a mountain bike race for females on the Serpentine 8, and that's been a big hit. In fact, I think we saw in one of the comments in one of the forums, we saw some guy complaining, and like, yeah, women first.
That's a success. I love that. Well, we talk about women's racing a lot on the show and how it's great, it's awesome, it's very dynamic, and we just need to see more of it. So
Yes. Yeah.
you've done a great job. You promote it, and you also have established a pretty good framework of events that facilitate it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we were the first to do that annual the AWTC
annual women's team race. We were the
Thank
first
you.
one to do a team women's race. And so we've been doing that annually now. And now a lot of other teams started doing, which we are all for. We don't have this, not competitive in that sense. The more women we can get out there on Swift, the better off. And so like Carrie said, when we first started up, there were so many women that wanted to be a women that we had hundreds, right? And at that point, nobody was competing against anyone else because we were all on the same team. So we're very glad when things kind of settled down and people often pick different teams, started up different teams for different reasons. Everybody's going to find a team that fits them the best. And we're all for that. Like, let's all have fun and, let's all do what we want to do on Swift and have fun doing it.
Builds competition. We needed competition. Yeah. We were all on one team. It was like, it was fun. But
so you not only had the first team, you kind of are responsible for building the whole ecosystem, which is pretty awesome. So you've come, yeah, there you go.
Build it, but we started it.
Definitely help pave that road. Absolutely. And at the helm.
What it's all about. So you've come a long way. You've been through a lot already with the team. What do you envision for the future? 1 year down the road, 5 years down the road? What do you see ahead, and what are you looking forward to?
Well, we definitely, we got involved with all the pro-ams that came out recently, and those have been phenomenal. Like being able to participate at that level has just been, the next level. It's been fun and exciting, and just getting even the community involved to watch and participate has been huge. It's kind of like, taking that in real life, and bringing it into a place that everybody can do it. I think in a lot of places that outside racing isn't always available. I know Amy only has like random gravel races in her space, and they're like a good hour away. That's how I am too. The racing here just isn't what it used to be. And if women were able to race, you're always racing with the men. And so the Zwift platform has really opened that up globally, right? To allow women to try those new things. Like I always kind of wanted to race, but I was kind of never really like, do I want to crash? Not necessarily. Not that that's always the outcome, but it is. It's tough. Some skill set that's involved in real life racing and crits and road racing and such. And so this platform allows like even little me to do it, and it's fun, and you realize that that competitive edge kicks in somewhere along the way, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so hard, and when's the next one? That's a typical feeling of racing.
Where did that come from, right? That's cool. Well, yeah, and I think that I think that environment will only continue to grow in the future, and you'll be
Yeah,
right there along the way as you have been.
exactly.
So we'll finish up. It's peak Swift season. We're seeing a ton of people join the platform, a ton of people on every map every day. You have lots of existing events. What are some key plugs and promotions you want to get in?
I think that probably the most popular ones that we have are the beginner race. It's a great way for people who are new to Swift and want to just try racing because it's short and there's no judgment. Just get out there and try it, right? And it's fun. It's fun to just try. We have a Fast Fearless ride on Thursday nights that's been getting a lot of activity, and they've been pushing 3.0, 3.5, and it's something for a group of ladies to do that on a ride. It's kind of fun to see it. So the leader of that has been really trying to push as hard as they can, just to see maybe 10 minutes at like 3.5 watts per kilogram. I mean, that's pretty fast, right? So at least for average people like us. So there's that. In the mountain bike on the Surface 98, a lot of fun to try it. And we're hoping, I guess we're hoping to add to what Carrie said, we're hoping that we'll always be kind of the first ones adding a new type of event, thinking of something new and creative to get people involved and get women
Yeah,
out racing.
we're
Yeah.
always talking about what that next thing is. Hey, maybe we could try this, or maybe let's try that. And so where these spawn from, which is really always fun.
You're still innovating after it's year 5 now. That's crazy, huh? And
Innovate or die, right?
yeah, continue. Well, so I would encourage anybody to check out your site, your website, or your Facebook, because there are a ton of cool events on there almost any day of the week, almost definitely any category, any level.
Yep.
So that's awesome, and I think there's lots of people listening that'll be appealing to. And thank you both for coming on.
Yeah, thanks
Awesome.
for having us. It's been a lot of
Thank,
fun.
yeah,
Awesome.
this was a blast. Thank you so much.
Team Fearless.
All right, so good interview with Team Fearless. You found out where to find them on Instagram and Facebook, and also with the Zwift events. So with that being done, let's go into our one big thing of the week. And Jackie, this was your idea, so I'll let you introduce it. And you said you have some cool stuff anyways, so.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So, our one big thing of the week is focusing on recovery, because I know everybody here puts a lot out on the road when they train, and it's really hard to come back day after day after day if you don't get back to that same baseline after a tough race, a tough recovery session. So I brought out some of my favorite toys just to share with you all. And I like to think of recovery in 3 kind of basic areas. One is compression, one is muscle recovery, and one is nutrition. We'll kind of hit on nutrition later, but it fit in with the theme of 3. So in terms of compression, this is actually a big thing we use in the hospital, not just as athletes. And uh, so putting compression on the legs, here are just calf sleeves. You've got compression socks too. Um, and the big thing here is just making sure that the blood gets back to your heart and doesn't stick pooling in your legs. So anybody who's ever, had swollen feet at the end of the day, had sore feet at the end of the day, all we're doing here, whether you're investing in like Normatec boots or just wearing compression socks, we're just making sure that the blood goes back to your heart and does what it's supposed to do rather than sitting in your legs and just being lazy. Uh, Second part, I have my Hypervolt here. This is lovely. Besides feeling amazing, the other part here is, again, we're focusing on blood flow. And so when you massage, when you roll out with a foam roller, when you go get a massage, what you're really doing is you are producing a localized reaction where you're increasing blood flow to the muscles, and you're helping your body focus on the repair it needs to do. So if the compression is making sure that you have enough blood, this massage is making sure that the blood goes where it needs to go to help the recovery, to help with the repair processes.
So Jackie, hold on.
Yeah.
I don't know how that thing works. You gotta show us what it does.
So first you turn it on. And then you stab it.
Like where?
Yeah. And then you essentially massage it on whatever muscle group is in pain. So my shoulders don't particularly hurt right now because I was cycling, not swimming. But I will tell you, if you take this to your medial quad, so that big, like that infamous cyclist quad, you will be in a world of pain. But as John Mellencamp would say, it hurts so good.
I like that. That's good. He's a paid endorser of the product? That's pretty
Oh, I would love to see that. I would love to see an advertisement with that song on there. Yeah, and then finally, just the third component of recovery, nutrition, and hydration. So keeping in line with the theme of making sure our blood goes back to our heart, and then making sure our blood goes where it needs to go. You know, making sure we have enough fluid in our bodies is super important. So hydration, making sure we have the correct electrolytes. Full disclosure, I am sponsored by Noon, but I really, I use their Noon Rest. It tastes good. I just drink it like tea every night. It's got magnesium in it, and it's relaxing. I mean, that's my go-to, and I know a lot of other people have other routines, but those are my three big ones: compression,
Are they the
massage, and
tablets you just
hydration.
drop in?
Yep.
Ah,
Yep.
okay.
So drop it in. I just heat up water like I'd heat up tea, and then drop in a tablet of this blackberry vanilla, and I'm good to go. It's that easy.
I have Noon in my Scratch Labs thing because I'm not sponsored by anyone, so I just mix and match.
Nice.
All right, Jordan, how about you? What are your things?
Okay. Well, my first one is sort of a cheeky one, but I really do like it. I figured this out when I Everested in the summer, and I was absolutely broken the next day. And I just, even sitting down on the couch, I didn't feel comfortable, and because your back is ruined from pulling, everything's ruined. So I actually took the couch, and it's a pullout, and I pulled out the bed and made it up, and I had coaching work to do, and I had TV to watch and all this. And I just laid on the bed all day, and that was awesome. Call it couch bed. And I just set up shop there, everything I need to work. And like everybody's working from home nowadays. So you could totally do this. And I think honestly, being horizontal is advantageous for recovery, and it encourages you just to relax. Like real talk, I always tell clients the best rest is rest. Like you can do all this stuff, and it really does help the massage, the compression, but you need to plant yourself and really get the resting heart rate down, parasympathetic nervous system, and relax. And so that's cheeky, but it works for me. And so when I'm really ruined, that is what I do. And so second one is more technical. It goes with the massage gun there. I use a foam roller, and I find, like, I don't need to do a full up and down, full body foam roll. Like that's useful, but I think a lot of athletes have certain points, like niggles, little triggers that are always sore. And for me, I have scoliosis, so my whole left side is always inflamed. But if I get the foam roller in there on my glute in a certain spot and down the side and on that medial quad as well, and release those sort of like key points, I feel like the entire inflammation goes down and you can feel that release. And so doing some foam rolling that's targeted, and you can use the lacrosse ball too. You know where it hurts for you, and it takes 5 minutes, and you do that, and stretching as well. Like I just feel like targeting that stuff, it really helps. And if you're tight, you're just not going to recover as well. All things being equal, so releasing those trigger points, I think, is important.
Yeah,
But
I love the yeah. I love the point you made there. My growing up, my dad would give me such a hard time because I refused to do my homework at a table, like sitting like a normal person, and I would just always be on the floor, like on my elbows, laying down. And you saying that now, it just feels so validated. I'm like, sorry, Dad, I was tired. Like I was recovering. Like I have a good reason now.
yeah. Well, it's if you have the pullout, I mean, it's a pretty ideal recovery tool, and you didn't even know you had it.
So I often think back to like high school and college, and I mean college I was more, but when I used to just have cross country practice, I'd come home and I would just do nothing for the entire rest of the night, just sit there and do nothing. And so like obviously when you get older, you don't recover as well. But also when like I ride my bike, I have to wake up super early so that I can then get done, and then I'm doing stuff with my kids all day. Not the same sort of recovery, right? So I don't have anything cool. Like I have a foam roller that I should use more, but instead just sits as a prop behind my bike. Like I use it. I used to put it like in the video so people thought I did it, But I think
The truth.
one of the things that helps me, and it's probably just like a mental thing, because like I said, like I've been having burnout lately. And I know Jordan, I've talked to you offline about it before. Like it's just so much racing lately, and with ZRL and everything, it's just been like this week I just had to take a bunch of days off. I just couldn't do it anymore. I was like, I just gotta. I mean, I love riding the bike, but I just couldn't. Just like just going outside for an hour and breathing fresh air, because I am sitting at this is where I do my work, is like right here. This is my desk, and like I'm here all the time, just constant. I get up, get my kids to school, and then I sit here, and then I go to my bike 2 feet away, and then I sit here. It's like just like getting outside, getting fresh air. It helps more probably mentally than anything else, but I always feel better and more recovered and more energetic after I go outside. So, you know, nothing revolutionary there, but certainly not that cool gun that I now want to get.
You
You
know,
could
I think there's a
sit
lot to be
next to your
said for
foam
going
roller.
outside. Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said for going outside. We definitely have the medical studies that show, even just 15 minutes outside a day improve stress levels, and to say nothing of the vitamin D and like the actual good that sunlight will do you. So, I know a couple months earlier this year when I was sitting inside studying for my exams at 3 o'clock, I would go outside and just like sit in the sun for 15 minutes, not look at a screen, look at something green, and just take time to breathe. Because you're right, you sit and you stare at a screen all day, and because so many of us are stuck inside right now, like it's difficult to remember how refreshing, like even that small moment can.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna try this summer. Like my easy days. It may not be as easy as it would be on Zwift where I watch my watts and stuff, but just throw my mountain bike on, go for a mountain bike ride. I mean, maybe it's hard, maybe it's not, I don't know, but just spending that time outside, I didn't do it enough this. So
Yeah,
Sounds lovely.
I think that's something that a lot of cyclists and endurance athletes miss is that you can go outside and move without exercising and
mm,
without training. Like that's really valuable, like gentle movement. Like just go out and sit on the deck, just pat around the park without thinking about how many miles you're doing and stuff. Like it's good. And that helps the parasympathetic helps the recovery. Good.
yeah. Yeah, there's a very fine line, I feel like, between logging your activity to make sure it's not stressing you out too much. And that being said, I have a Whoop band that's tracking every single thing I do. But, and
Free
like,
ad. You and free ads, Rick. I mean, you gotta get these people as sponsors.
I know. Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I mean, what's the point of having a YouTube channel if you're not going to shill other people's products?
I know. Deepformcoaching.com. Just so you guys.
And Jackie is, of course, Noon, which is the best products that are made.
Oh, and Polar. Polar's
And
tracking everything I do right now,
see,
so we're
yeah,
good there.
yeah. So Jackie and I'll argue about Whoop and Polar once Whoop is sponsoring me. So yeah. Anyways, yeah. Well, thanks everybody for watching. I really apologize about all the technical difficulties this week. I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna have to restart my. I called the IT department and they told me to restart my computer. So yeah, Jackie, Jordan.
Unplugging it in again.
Yeah. Any parting words?
No, go ahead, Jackie.
I was gonna say, may you all have good biking this week. Even if you don't have good weather, I hope your Netflix is entertaining and you do get that mental break.
All right.
I'll echo that. Yeah, we've been talking about burnout, Rick and I, a little bit, and I feel that sentiment. Let's just ride our bikes and have fun this week, folks. Like, racing should be fun. So just enjoy it, Let's try to have a smile with this instead of just a grimace all the time.
Definitely.
We'll see you next week.
All right.